so glad you're here. Let's start. Well, hello, everyone. It's Julie Halston, Virtual Halston Season 2, Episode 11. Time is moving so slowly and yet so fast. Correct? Anyway, we have a very special edition of Virtual Halston today. A lot of you know that every week we give a portion of our tips to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, which we are happy to do every week. It's near and dear to my heart. But this particular week, we are going to give all our Venmo and PayPal tips, a portion of that to pay for the platforms, of course, but also to saving birdland. I don't know if you know, yes, there we are, Save Birdland. There it is. Many of you know, many of you might not know that a lot of beloved institutions in New York City are really in trouble financially. And one of them, of course, is Birdland, a club that has been shuttered for many, many, many months. And we cannot let Birdland go. It is iconic. It is fabled. It's my second home. I think actually, Jim, it's his first home. But we cannot let this incredible jazz and music club go away. So today, if you have in your heart some tips to give, Venmo or PayPal, there you go. Here we go. We are going to give a portion to Birdland. And who do we have on the show but two incredible music legends, Jessica Molaskey and John Pizzarelli. Hello? And they're married, if you didn't know that. So they'll be coming to us together. They're so adorable. But first, let me bring on a legend, our legend. And we have a lot to discuss because this is a multi-award winning producer and impresario and performer. Jim Caruso, where are you?
Oh, God.
That's who you are.
Impresario. That sounds like I should have a cape over my shoulder and have black glasses at all times.
Yes, and maybe
a fedora.
bowler hat. Maybe a bowler hat, and you are Diagolev. I'm just going to call you Jim Diagolev from now on.
It's catchy.
It's catchy. Yeah. Oh yes.
Hi, Julie.
I'm going to meet Diagolev for lunch. Yeah. It's like people go, okay, she's lost her mind. But Jim, you've won a lot of awards.
Yes, thank you. There's a thing here in town called the Broadway World Cabaret Awards, and I won a bunch of them, and as did our producer Ruby. And it's very nice. It's nice to be recognized. It's nice to have a pat on the back for the work that we do, and I couldn't be happier about it.
But wasn't one of the awards for this show?
For this very show. For producing this very extravaganza.
This very show, Virtual Halston.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm very excited about that.
We're very proud. I'm so happy to be doing this show. I mean, you know how much I adore you, and working with you and Ruby every week is just a pleasure. And getting to kind of delve into the lives of so many great performers. This week, I always say whoever the guests are my favorites, but these two are honestly two of my favorite musical performers, human beings. I just love them. And of course, they're regulars at the aforementioned Birdland.
And, it's so interesting because I had heard about Jessica, and I'm going to talk to her about this, but, I was the queen of downtown because, they wouldn't let me up past 14th Street. I was a vampire lesbian of Sodom, but I was desperate to get uptown and be on Broadway. And I had some Broadway friends, and they always talked about Jessica Molaskey. Oh my God, you got to meet this girl, Jessica Molaskey. She's so beautiful and she sings so beautiful. I was like, all right, already. And I would go to the Broadway shows and I would see Jessica Molaskey. And I'll talk to her about this, but when I saw her in Sunday in the Park, that is one of my forget it. But and then I heard about John Pizzarelli because of his dad, the legendary guitarist Bucky Pizzarelli, because my late husband Ralph was such a fan of Bucky's. And when I was dating Ralph, he was like, "Oh, you got to see this guy. You got to see this guy." So suddenly I got into this whole other world. So we'll talk to them about all this stuff.
No, let's just talk about them.
Yeah, we'll just talk about them, and they'll just be sitting there, and they'll say, "They're talking about us. Are they ever going to bring us on?"
I know.
Yeah, no. Actually, we're just going to talk about you and show pictures.
I think it's so lovely of you to decide to give, a portion of today's Venmo and PayPal tips, or whatever we want to call them, to Birdland. This has been an incredible week and a half, because our friend Tom Dangora, who's a producer here in town and a big fan of Birdland and other performance venues in town, took it upon himself to create a GoFundMe account for Birdland, because he could not imagine a New York without Birdland. And it's become wildly successful. He's putting a show together that's just gonna, the cast was announced. Some of the cast was announced today in Variety. Bill Clinton.
Yeah, do you know who that is? Bill Clinton.
What? I mean, could there be anybody more
you
famous?
Mean that jazz saxophonist?
Yeah, right. That Bill Clinton.
Guy.
Clive Davis. Wonderful friends of ours.
Yes.
But like, it's extraordinary. So we're going to do our best. No stinking pandemic is going to take down Birdland. That's what I have to say.
No.
Damn it.
No. And to our viewers, and we have such loyal and supportive viewers, again, no donation too small or too large. Go through our Venmo, PayPal. There you go. And just know that this week, a portion is going to go to Birdland and to the Save
Birdland.
So let's, because, she's also an award winner, besides being the busiest gal in town. Let's bring in our tech director, Ruby. Oh, Ruby.
Oh, Julie. You did it this week, Julie. You called me in.
I called you in. Oh, Ruby.
Oh, Julie.
Ruby, are you settled into your new apartment?
Yes, we are finally settled. We have our first guests coming over tomorrow, Kevin's parents. They're just coming to help us with some other things and bring some last few things over from our old apartment. But yeah, we're settled. We've pretty much done all that needs to be done. Still waiting on a couch, but I've got a chair. I've got a table to produce shows. So I'm happy.
I remember when I was first in New York, and I hope everyone is watching the Netflix documentary about Fran Lebowitz, because it's genius. It's
great,
genius.
right?
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. But I do remember when I, moved to New York in I think it was 1800, because I have been that old. But I do remember just thinking, well, as long as I have a bed, that would be the it, and then eventually I would sort of and then I remember at some point I even had a beanbag chair. Do you remember those beanbag? That is so sad.
First of all, the name itself is so unappealing. Who came up with beanbag? Did you have a futon? Did you ever do that?
At one time I did a futon, yeah.
Yeah, I did that when I first moved to New York. I had a futon.
Yeah. Not so
I think
good.
it's a rite of passage.
Yeah, it was, but not so fun for the gentleman callers.
Who had that? I'm still waiting.
Now, Ruby, you are now an award winner from the Broadway World Cabaret Awards. You're an award winner.
Yes.
For this show.
I know. I'm so excited that the people outside my apartment are still screaming. No, I'm so thrilled. You know what? It's really fun to be recognized in whatever way. I mean, even just being nominated was so much fun, considering that, my producing business has only been a thing for 10 months, not even a full year. So it was a really fun accomplishment just to be nominated, and then to win with Jim, who I have so much fun producing, not just this show, but Pajama Cast Party with. And Jim won for Pajama Cast Party, which is another win in my book. And so I was thrilled. I really was just so excited.
We are rich. The cash prizes, the cash prizes that come with this award are unthinkable.
I might be moving again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I used to love on the daytime shows. Well, they still exist apparently, where like you could win this gorgeous dinette set.
Right.
And it was like, who wants that?
Right. And a mana range.
Yeah. I mean, wow. But this was my favorite. One of those. What was it? The price? No, Money Halls. Money Halls.
That's Price is Right, right?
The Price is Right. Money Halls, I think. Anyway, this woman from Europe, I'll never forget it. I think I was like a really small child, but I was so impressed. She was offered,
Let's make a deal.
Door number 1. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Money Halls. Let's make a deal. Door number 1, door number 2, blah, 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 blah. She turned all this down. She turned money down. She won 10 ocelots. No, okay. Let me repeat that. 10, like the you know, ocelots, like the bobcats, ocelots. That is what she wanted. She wanted the ocelots. She was from Europe. She spoke like this. She was like, I want the ocelots. I want the ocelots. She took all the ocelots, which was considered the Goon Prize. I found out many years later, because apparently someone else was obsessed, that woman sold those ocelots for a lot of money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Who knew?
I used to love Deal or No Deal. That's what I used to watch with like my sister and my dad, because I just, you know, it was such a simple show. Literally, what's in the briefcase? Like,
right.
But I mean, it really didn't. It wasn't that genius of a show. But I used to love it. And anytime we'd go to like the arcade, they'd always have like a Deal or No Deal game set up. And that's where I would stay literally for 2 hours because I wanted to get the magic briefcase. And I did once.
Did you?
Oh, I did it twice. And I remember very strange the things you remember. But I remember I wanted to get like a ton of tickets because, you know, most kids when they would go to the like prize hunt at these arcades, they'd want the giant teddy bear. They'd want the cool, like, you know, electronic. I wanted a pack of 6 notebooks and some really beautiful pens so that I could write more songs. And so when I won all my tickets, I got those notebooks and I got my pens. And now I'm a Broadway World Award winner. So
that's right, damn it. No goon prize for
know
you.
That Ruby Lochner actually became Taylor Swift. No, but you know what? Keep those notebooks, baby. Keep those notebooks. You never know. You never know.
2 of our guests today are brilliant songwriters. I wonder if they keep notebooks or how they create those songs.
How they work. Yeah,
maybe you should ask them.
I will definitely.
I was just saying this to someone recently, and I don't know, Julie and Jim, if you guys are the same way, but I feel like everybody who is in the arts has like a notebook obsession. Like they can't help but buy a new notebook even when they don't need one. You know what I mean? Like
I have 5 of them. I have 5 of them resting. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I have 5 of them. Some of them are cheap looking. Some of them are leather bound. I have 5 of them right by my bed. Right by my
when we were moving into this new apartment, you know, I made a list for myself and I put it in my phone of just things that I have enough of that I don't need to be bringing into this new place in 2021. And I literally wrote down notebooks because I went through like my drawer and I said, I have all these beautiful ones that have never been used and I keep on accumulating more and more.
No, I say keep them. Keep them.
Oh,
you never know.
I'm not adding anymore because it truly is sad. I mean...
It's a wonderful obsession. Well, you know, mentioning our guests, these 2 truly, I think we, you know, you say the word legends sometimes and you kind of go, well, they're not really legends. You know, they're very good stars. Great show, great cause, Birdland. Yay. Belinda Wright, by the way, you are such a great supporter. Thank you, Belinda. But these 2 really are legendary performers. I got a little obsessed with Jessica Molaski from the Broadway world. My late husband was a little obsessed with the Pizzarellis. It all came together. They're songwriters, they're producers, they're radio hosts, they're musicians. They're also married, so they're coming to us together, in case you didn't know that, but I think everyone in the world knows this. Why don't we bring them in? John Pizzarelli and Jessica Molaski. Yay! There you are.
It's so good to see somebody else.
What? Yeah. You certainly have a nice pod, a nice little couple there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a strange and difficult time. How are you two? How are you doing? How are you doing?
We're doing okay. I mean, we're really lucky. We've got enough food on the table. Our kids are healthy. Everybody's healthy,
Good. Good.
For TV shows.
Yeah, we get to, it ain't been easy. Y'all know that.
Are you watching a Netflix series now, or what are you?
We just finished the Fran Lebowitz, which was absolutely ridiculous.
Isn't it amazing?
She's unbelievable.
She's unbelievable. She's one of the great raconteurs. John and Jessica, Rick Kingston. But she was a big 10-10 Wins listener, and that's my husband was,
right.
The anchorman, right, Jessica, for many, many years. And when she mentioned Wins, I got really, really teary because it just brought up everything and the city and whatnot. But I have to say, I am laughing out loud by myself. The cats are wondering, but it's great. It's just a great. And Martin Scorsese is so gleeful with his glee over Fran Lebowitz. It's so delicious.
Yeah, and I feel like I identify with her too much now. I mean, especially the part where she's crossing the street, because I had the great distinction several years ago to be hit by a truck while I was walking.
We do know this. A lot of us do remember when that happened, and we were horrified.
And I'm literally like, I'm walking here. I stop in front of cars. I punch because they just kind of come up at you. So I love that part.
Well, thank God you're here. You're with us, safe and sound. I do have to start with you, Jessica, because it was years ago when I was an off-Broadway diva trying to work her way past 14th Street that I kept hearing about you from many different friends. And they kept saying, "Oh, you got to hear this girl. She's so beautiful, and she has the most beautiful voice, and she's on Broadway." And I think, was your first Broadway show Oklahoma? What was your first Broadway show?
Yes, that was my first Broadway show.
Your first Broadway show, Oklahoma.
I was a very young person.
Yes,
but it was a very long time ago.
How did this come about? You grew up in Connecticut, and then did you just say, like, I'm going to New York and going to be a Broadway star?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you did.
My brother dropped me off. I had a place downtown at Pace University. I was staying in a dorm there because I was going to acting school. And my brother, I had like $150, and he said, I can't leave you here. I said, I'm going to be fine. But it's the same thing as Fran Lebowitz was talking about. Because back then, my first apartment was $375 a month. You could totally do it.
My first apartment, a studio, but it was like a nice big alcove studio. $275.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's fantastic.
You could just say, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. And I remember seeing you in one of my favorite musicals and just sobbing, which was Sunday in the Park with George. I think there you are. You're there. There you are.
Yeah, look at that.
I remember hearing your voice and being kind of gobsmacked because I had been hearing about you for a while from a number of people. And it was just great to see you in one of my favorite musicals with that beautiful voice, being beautiful. And it was just great. But what kind of experience must that have been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember I saw it in previews originally and like thinking I couldn't stop crying. And it was just a gift. What can I say?
Yeah.
Everybody in it was best, and it was just a gift. And I never was in a show where everybody never went back to the dressing rooms. Everybody sat in the chair backstage and listened to the whole thing. You had to. You had to.
Yeah. I was reminded of this when we did Boys from Syracuse at Encores. Mario Cantone and I would not go to our dressing rooms. We always had to watch. I'm going to get really teary now, but we'd have to watch Rebecca Luker and Debbie Gravitt and Sarah just sing for yourself. And we just sobbed. Then we
Right.
just sobbed. So it's thrilling. It's when you're in the presence of art.
Yeah.
It's pretty moving. And speaking of art, again, I found out about your husband through my late husband because he was like, "Oh, we have to go to the club tonight and see Bucky Pizzarelli." And I was like, "Okay, I love the name. I don't know who this guy is because I was just a vampire lesbian and Sodom. I didn't know any of these people." And then he was like, "Oh, and his son John, they're just fantastic." You started playing guitar when you were 6?
Yeah, my father's uncles taught me. Actually, I played tenor banjo. This is the international symbol for tenor banjo. And so I played tenor banjo for about 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years. And then if you wanted to sit down on a couch or a chair in our house, you had to move a guitar. So eventually I realized maybe I should learn how to play one while I was at it. So I realized you could follow the dots and the scores and, and I just started playing the guitar. I always wanted to do something like that. It was just always there.
But then you went to the University of Miami. Did you study music or?
No, I went to Don Bosco High School, and then I went to the University of Tampa.
Oh,
Wow.
Tampa. That's right, Tampa.
Yes, ask me why.
Why?
Because they accepted me.
Okay.
I ended
That's a
up
good
back-
answer. That's a good
I ended
answer.
up for 3 semesters, and I realized I'd rather be in New Jersey. And I came back and went to William Paterson, and I was 1980, and I started working with my father at that time. So we played together anywhere and everywhere from 1980 to 1990.
Oh.
Did you used to hang out at the Paterson Falls?
Oh, geez. That was like if anybody, actually, I had friends in 1988. We made friends with this guy from Gotemba in Japan, just outside of Tokyo, about an hour outside. He came and he bought one of my records, and so we said, "Why don't you come to our house tomorrow?" Because he was coming to see New York. So we took him out to New Jersey. We made him eggplant. But before the first thing before eating or anything, my father took him he goes, "You got to see the Paterson Falls." That was the first thing. And Paterson Falls and Libby's Lunch right around the corner was a big deal.
Oh, I've been there many times, darling. Ralph was obsessed. He was obsessed with the falls, and we had to go to Libby's. And I was like, what? That was a date, darling.
Well,
And that was a date. And guess what? I still married him. I mean, but the falls are great. And so is Libby's, actually. It's all really great, and it's great history.
Yeah.
But now let me.
Last year, just around about a year ago, it was December, and I was driving up from Princeton. I had done a gig, so we slept over in Princeton, and I was driving my piano player up to play a gig at William Paterson, and the GPS took me, and I said, "This is a weird route," and we came right up, and there was Hinchcliffe Stadium, and I said, "Wait a second," and I looked behind me, and there were the falls. I parked the car. I said, "You got to see the falls," and he's from Australia. So I said, and he was like, "Oh, this is right. Oh, lovely. Oh, I remember that." And I said, "Yeah, remember in The Sopranos, they threw a guy off this bridge." And my father had made a painting of the falls with the bridge and a guitar player falling from the bridge, holding his guitar. That's my father.
Oh, that's great. Well, now, when you were a teenager, John, I know you played with people like Clark Terry and other greats like Benny Goodman or whatever. How did that come about? Did you just bulldoze your way in, or how did this come about?
Yeah, it was mostly, I met all of them in my teens. And then when I got into my 20s, I was on bandstands with my father, and he'd say, "We're going to play with Clark Terry today. We're going to play with Zoot Sims."
There you are.
We are playing together. And
Look at those pictures.
very nice.
Oh boy.
So it was really, I was always thrown into the fire a lot. That's an early one I'm seeing right now. But I mean, I was just always ended up on bandstands, and it was like, go, there was no,
Wow.
I really need to know what this song is. No, you just listened and you prayed.
Wow. A little different, Jessica, than what we go through with Broadway or whatever. It's not like, just wing it.
Oh.
Like,
Let me tell you, it took me 22 years to introduce the concept of rehearsal.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, no, there's no winging it. Interestingly, Ralph, when he was on the air, would have to wing it a lot because it was breaking news.
Right.
And they would literally throw pieces of paper at him with 2 words on it. And he would have to riff.
Right.
And he'd have to watch monitors above him while news was coming in of like generally like a disaster or something. And they'd throw paper at him with like 1 line or 1 sentence or 2 words, and he'd have to wing it. And he was like, oh, that's what we do. In my comedy act, every word is it's rehearsed. I'm not a winger. I can, but I'm not a winger. But
Well,
now,
I mean, we wing it to the extent as we say, like for at the Carlisle say, I'm just talking about music.
right.
The other stuff is like flying blind, but we kind of say we're going to talk here, but we never say what we're going to talk about.
I see.
And then over the course of like a month or whatever, however long we're doing it, it starts to become a thing that we kind of.
Right. And you say, oh, let's bring up that story or whatever. I found a picture. I don't know. Ruby is the black and white picture of that. Now, John, look at that picture. How old were you? And what is this, a family picnic or something?
No, this was the jazz festival. That's I think that's some kind of, well, I can't remember what we're sitting in front of, but that's at Waterloo Village in New Jersey. I have on the white shoes without the socks.
Yeah.
A Lacoste V-neck sweater with nothing underneath it, kind of thing. It was the Summer Jazz Festival at Waterloo Village.
Okay.
And, it was we did it every it was like around like between July 1 and 6. It was part of the what was then the Cool Jazz Festival. So we did that always down in that was about 20, 21 or 22 in that picture.
Well, when I saw that picture, it reminded me of, I don't know if I'm such a Beatle freak, but when you would go through the old Beatles biographies or whatever, they'd have a picture of like John Lennon and the Quarrymen.
Right.
I thought of you in that picture. I was like, John Lennon and the Quarrymen, because the hair is a little different and the shoes and whatnot. But anyway, I just thought of you when I saw that picture. I just loved it. I thought it was great. I have a picture of you, and I know you're a big cook. I know you too like the cooking and the wine and whatnot and what. Did your mom teach you? I have a picture of you and your mom. There she is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
There's
that's
Mom.
actually from my first wedding.
Okay. All right. Well, say goodbye to that wedding, but say hello to Mom.
Yeah, that's all right. It's a great picture.
Beautiful.
Yeah, she's so cute. Did she teach you how to cook? Because I know you're a cook.
No, I followed. I just watched all of that going on, but it was basically Mulaski likes to mention it. It was more like I started watching the Cooking Network and watching the Italian chefs, and then I would start to think I could do all that. I always wanted to do it, and it was just something that happened after 9/11. I started making pasta and having people over and just saying, "Here."
It wasn't after. It was literally the night of 9/11. It was like a savant response to trauma.
Wow.
He started making gnocchi. I was like, "How do you know how to do that?" He just started making pasta.
Oh, that's a wonderful response. It's a wonderful response because it feeds the soul, it feeds the body. We need it, That's a fantastic response. And let me ask you this. For those of you who are out there, if you're enjoying this conversation, which I can't imagine that you're not, but even if you're not, please feel free to tip us. No donation too small or too large. I have very generous viewers. They are just incredible. But I just want to remind them that this week, everything is going to go to the portion of it is going to go to Birdland. We'll go back to Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation next week. So, Jessica, you did Sister Bertha in that Sound of Music live. Now, there you are. Are you in the, yeah, there you are.
Me and Odge.
Yeah.
Odge
Yeah,
McDonald.
exactly. Odge. Christy Nielsen was like, that was terrifying. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun? Or was it like, this is nuts?
It was a blast, I must say. I felt like we were going up in space because we started at Acapella. Audra actually started at Acapella. And you hear, like 10 seconds to live air, and it's like, here we go. And it was really fun. I couldn't, like 2 days before I realized I had to start a song in the air that she climbs a tree and scrapes her knee. And I thought, oh God, yeah, because the track's already there. So if I come in the wrong key, I'm going to be a meme for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. It was really fun.
Also, there are millions and millions and millions of people watching.
I wouldn't have wanted to have 1 ounce more of responsibility. Like Audra McDonald having to sing Climb Every Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which she did brilliantly.
Yeah, no, she did do it brilliantly. I rather enjoyed it, I must say. I rather enjoyed it. And Sound of Music's not my favorite, but I still cried. You hear beautiful things, you hear wonderful art. I just cry. So now I know the two of you met, I think during Dream. Dream was the musical? Was that right? I think there's the playbill of Dream.
It was allegedly a musical.
Yeah, allegedly a musical.
I like to say that the run of that show was 9 of the most wonderful days of my life.
There you go. And of course, Margaret Whiting. I mean, we all remember Margaret so well.
Margaret was lovely. Margaret's responsible for us being together.
Well, this is what I want to know. Who started the flirting first?
It was like an explosion.
It was a boom moment.
What happened was we had, and I'm going to say this, I never say anything negative online, but we had a particularly difficult leading lady who wasn't Margaret Whiting. And nothing was getting done. Every day came to a standstill. And I went to Wayne, the director, and said, look, I didn't know how much responsibility I have. You've got all these songs. So why don't I take the cute guy with the guitar downstairs and come up with some numbers and we can show them to you. The rest is here.
So in other words, it was a little bit of a manipulation.
Well, no, because he was playing all the right chords.
Well, to be honest, this is what was happening. I saw her on the first day of rehearsals, and she had to come out to sing Skylark, and the music was like, Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? And I was like, what? That was actually the arrangement. And I was like, she's singing her rear end off and she's cute. And the music was like, I couldn't believe it. So I made a pitch to say, I would like to take her and I'll play the right chords. I think it should be a guitar and voice duet. And so that was a big help.
But the year before, I was in San Francisco at the San Francisco Opera doing Tommy, the Who's Tommy. Was playing Mrs. Walker.
Who's Tommy?
And I had a cute little apartment in the marina. And I went home after the show and I was cooking a little snack. And I hear the name. He was on the Tonight Show. I heard John Pizzarelli. I thought that's a whole name. And then he starts scatting. What was it, Route 66?
Yep.
This guy comes out and starts burning on Route 66 and scatting. And I was like, who the hell is that? So I come out in the living room and I say, oh, and he's also very cute. So that it was just it was a coincidence that I ended up in the same show with him. But I knew he was really good, so.
Well, I always like to say, because it does happen, Sam Rudy asked me to do this interview at 1010 Wins with this guy, Ralph Howard. I was like, that's the last thing I want to do. I'm too busy. And Charles Bush was the one who said, I've had that interview and you better go to that interview. And I said, well, why do you say that? He goes, he's straight, for one, and you're divorced, and he's straight. He's really good looking. And I remember he opened up the door to the studio. Boom, went the strings of my heart. And literally, I said to Sam Rudy as we walked out, I said, find out everything you can about that man. Find out everything you can about that man. He was like, well, I think he might be married or with a girl. I said, find out. I don't care. I just want all information. And boom, there you go. So it happens. That's so great.
I spent a lot of time trying to, talk myself out of the fact that my heart went boom because,
Right. It's going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be
jazz
hard.
musician with he didn't have a couch at the time.
And never home.
He didn't have anything.
Yeah. Well, he had a guitar, darling.
Here
He
we
had a
are.
guitar.
Here we are. Thank God.
I loved Dream. Billy Stritch is saying he loved Dream, and he's still sad it didn't get recorded.
He was the one, and that
Billy was the one that liked it.
And the problematic other person was the reason why it didn't get recorded.
Oh, that's very sad. That's really too bad.
It was, because it was some actually, Jessica sang Skylark #1, which was so beautiful. She sang Something's Gotta Give, which was great.
Yes.
And Days of Wine and Roses at the end too. It's a really great numbers that she was in.
Clyde Barnes said John was an amiable fire hydrant.
Okay. All right, Clive Barnes. Now you're really bringing up. I mean, we go back.
I was amiable.
We literally, I've never had a martini in my life, and I had a martini that night because the reviews started coming in, and I saw the producer go, because that's when there was no online, we had to get the hard copy, and I said, I'm gonna have a martini.
Yeah.
And then you know what happened? 12 months later, it was a baby girl.
Oh my God. That is a great story. And I have a feeling we've got a little bit of an exclusive here. This is so great. This is so fantastic. Now, I also wanted to ask you, because you've written songs, you're terrific songwriters and whatnot. We were talking before about keeping notepads at our bedside or our desks or whatever. How do you craft a song?
There are little tiny pieces of paper on little surfaces all over our house.
Really?
No, we actually are lazy, and when we have an assignment, we do pretty well.
So a deadline.
Yeah.
That's how I write. I it's a deadline. It's like, oh, do I have a booking? Oh, okay.
Right.
But there are many writers who write every day, regardless.
Yeah, that we're not that way. We're
Yeah,
lazy.
But we had actually right in front of us is a table that the stuff is on, and we about 10 summers ago I was like, we need to write some tunes, and I had old melodies. You talked about notebooks and things like that. I have all these notebooks from my 20s, about 15 of them. They're all the songs that I wrote since I was like 16 to 30. But some of them, the songs are horrible, but the melodies and the music's okay. So I would play them for Jessica, and then she'd come back and say, here's an idea, or she'd like an idea in the song and then work off of that. So we've had a lot of interesting success just with, I know even Jimmy has sung I Wouldn't Trade You. So we've had some very interesting,
John gives me good assignments.
Good assignments.
We started doing several years ago vocalese stuff where we take solos and I write lyrics to them, and then we try to figure out how to do them really fast. But that's been really fun. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Can you? I know this is, and listen, I'm putting you on the spot, but you just brought it up, so I'm thinking to myself, can you demonstrate a little? Like, you have your guitar there. Can you do a little vocal?
Yes, so this is Perdido.
So the song that Perdido is Perdido. Now the arrangement that I had first heard, it had the chords of Perdido, but the arrangement went and so I said, Perdido is such an innocuous song. Why don't you write a lyric to and then you could sort of make Perdido more interesting. So Jessica came up.
Perdido means lost.
Yeah, and so she came up with, I was having the time of my life. I had to get her a wife. There wasn't a single thing to ever stop me then from getting to swing. I was happy as a pop, chewing on a bone and making music on my own. Cause I was bold and poppin' as a boy could be. The melodies I shop them all around the land and sea. I was home when I was roaming, living life just to get my kicks. I'm 66 and it was right for me. And without noticing, I dropped my map and headed south, a crazy mishap. I took a dusty road down to Mexico way. I got lost, and what more can I say?
You think I hear you, my friend? I have had a very remarkable excursion myself, and I'm not speaking in hyperbole. I stopped by a shady spot to have a drink.
South of the border, one to order gave me more than you think. Remember, At all times to be aware of indiscretion. The worm can turn into the heart of a soul, or down the rabbit hole. And may I emphasize that no two people are quite alike. But when you drink the deadly spike, pray for tomorrow to come. I'm not someone to give secrets all away. That's said, but none will never be any story quite like this one. Love finds you and your own life will be over in a moment. And you'll never be, it will ever be the same. Yes, I took the craziest trip and flipped for a Freudian slip. Now I am ever lost. Perdido, I look for my heart, it's Perdido. I lost it way down in Torino, the day the fiesta started. Bolero, sway as they play the bolero. You kiss me the blissing sombrero, and that's my heart departed. High was the sun when I held her close. Low was the moon when she said adios. Perdido, ever since it's Perdido, I know I must go to Torino to find what I lost. Perdido.
No, you can't imagine. You can't imagine the comments that are coming in. It's insane. Wow. Yeah, really stretched. But this is just one of the many that are two musical geniuses that I didn't expect that, but I am so thrilled. And what a tribute to Birdland. What an incredible, guys. If you can't tip, I understand, but if you can, come on, Venmo, PayPal for that. That was extraordinary. That's on the highlight reel. That's on the highlight reel. Come on. Oh my God. Thank you so much. What a gift. Wow. It's kind of thrown me off well, here's another thing I was reading about with you, John, that Nat King Cole was one of your big inspirations. And a lot of people talk about Nat King Cole. We know how great he is. We know what that incredible voice. But tell me why he was so special to you and why you consider him an inspiration.
Well, long story short is my father introduced me to those early trio records of Nat King Cole. So in 1980, around January of 1980, my father said, you got to go find those Nat Cole trio records. And Capitol had just re-released them. So I took the two records that I found at the record store and brought them home to my father. And for someone who was trying to learn some sort of standard repertoire, I didn't want to be at 20 going night and day, you are the one. But I could go, if you ever plan to move to West.
I see, yes.
All of that material was perfect for a 20-year-old who needed a foundation for something to do vocally, and that was that. I also will say, since I know Billy's watching that, and a lot of people have mentioned this, but many times when I was in Steve Allen's band in 1984, 85, 86, 87, 88, 88, and he came on with Montgomery Plant and Stritch. And my
yes.
And my father said, that's a good group. You hear that group? That's a good group they got there. He was, and Billy is, and Jimmy, all the things that they've been doing online have been restorative.
Making so many people happy.
It really has been. I just, once again, I haven't, last night, Billy, as you're watching, but generally on Thursday nights, I am at Billy's place virtually. And, oh yes, Jess and Piz and Pandemic Bearable, pure joy, absolutely. But, you know, I put on Billy's place and I'm better. As simple as that. I'm better. And Jim, with his Pajama Cast Party, had so many incredible artists, many artists that I don't know, because he has such an eclectic group. But it's such a wonderment to see all these great talents. And they're all in their homes, you know, it's an incredible thing.
But you know what I think we learned from all of this, because we do a show on Thursday nights as well, before Billy at 6 o'clock on Facebook Live, is that the need for the music is more than ever. That's why I have hope about Birdland, because when we come back, and we will come back, it's going to be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to bring that up. Now, you're doing Radio Deluxe from your home, right?
Yes. Well, we've always done it from our home.
There you are.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we were ahead of our time.
How do people find Radio Deluxe? What is it? A syndicated or how?
Well,
What is it?
We're on in 60 cities across America. You can find it on WNYC online.
JohnFitzgerald.com has a list of all the stations, and then
there's a Radio Deluxe page on Facebook.
And Mixcloud.com has all the shows. If you go to Mixcloud.com, you just write in Radio Deluxe, and you can catch up on almost 700 episodes.
Yeah, we've been doing it.
Yes, I saw that. Actually, that's how I listened for a little bit before this show, and I am urging people to do that. It's just fantastic. You learn so much. You also have great musicians on. I know Jim's been on the show, as a matter of fact. I believe he said that he was on. And you just have so many. And when do you do it? When do you do it?
Oh, you mean the radio show?
Yeah.
We usually do it on Mondays.
Okay.
We don't and then we send it out to our producer in LA, who drops the music in. We don't do it in real time.
Right.
We go into our corners, pick music for each other, and don't talk to each other, and then we just play and tell stories.
Well, now, Jess, I became a little obsessed because I'm obsessed with Joni Mitchell, and I know you have your album of Joni. Look at that! Isn't that the best? Look at that! It's so fantastic. Did you ever meet Joni Mitchell?
No.
No.
She's one of my few heroes who, honestly, I haven't gotten to meet. I mean, I got to work with Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim and most of my heroes, but I don't know. I can't believe I made a Joni Mitchell record. I just can't believe I did it. I did it. No. I did a show at Lincoln Center, at the Pell Room, and there was a guy who kept bugging me and saying, "You've got to make that record." And I thought, okay. But now, I mean, it's just I had the greatest musicians in the world play on it. Randy Brecker.
It's difficult music, isn't it?
It's very difficult.
It's very difficult music.
It's so similar to her in certain ways, but I mean, Jessica approached it as a great singer and also as a great actress, and that really was what made it a singular sensation. I love that record so much.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's fantastic, and I urge people to get it. And if they don't know Joni, they'll be introduced to Joni, and if whatever, vice versa. But I think it's sensational, and I think you do Joni just brilliantly. I do have a very interesting, funny showbiz Joni story. Joni Mitchell, famously kind of cranky, smoking at one point in some restaurant in Beverly Hills. And who is the antithesis of Joni Mitchell but Michelle Lee? So Michelle Lee, apparently, can you hear me? Are people not hearing me?
I can hear you great.
You can hear me. But wait, let me bring Ruby on for a minute. Ruby?
I'm here, Julie. Yeah, there's a weird little feedback thing happening.
There's a little feedback.
Can you turn down the gain on your Yeti?
On my blue Yeti?
On your blue Yeti.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can still hear you. Okay, I'm gonna go away. If something else happens, I'll pop back in.
Okay. Thank you, Ruby.
I wish I had a Ruby.
What, sweetie?
I wish I had a Ruby.
Oh yeah, no, we need Ruby. Oh, she's unreal. And guess what? She's 21.
Oh God.
I know, it's crazy. So anyway, Michelle Lee, who's diamonds and pearls and a little lifted or whatever, sees Joni Mitchell, and she goes over to Joni, who's smoking and surly and sullen, whatever, and she goes, "Joni, it's Michelle Lee." And Joni Mitchell looks at her like, "Who are you? What are you doing at my table? Get out of here." Joni, Michelle Lee. I mean, I just thought Hollywood meets Joni. It's no, don't. Unless you're Jack Nicholson, don't bother Joni Mitchell.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you never know what you're going to get with your heroes. It's better to just love them from afar.
Exactly. Let it go and just sing her songs, but don't bother her. Well, you've both worked with so many incredible stars. Paul McCartney and James Taylor. Didn't you produce John? James
Nominated
Taylor.
for a Grammy.
I know. I saw a picture of you, Jess, and James Taylor. But look at that.
Oh my God. That was the last time I was in New York. How about that?
Wow.
I went out with a bang.
Well, you certainly did. But now, John, is there anyone that you want to work with that you haven't yet, or the two of you that you just want to meet? And if you do want to meet someone or work with them, like, do you just call them up? I mean, you guys are both sort of legendary. You can call them up, but who would you want to be working with?
Well, I think the guy I've been trying to make plans to just be in the same room with is a guitarist named Pat Metheny, who's a great.
Oh yes, Pat Metheny. Yeah. Sure.
So about Labor Day, right before the pandemic, we saw each other at the Detroit Jazz Festival, and we were talking, and we were sort of pen pals on email, you know, and then he was always checking in about how my dad was. And when my dad passed away, right after my dad and my mother passed away, I started like playing the guitar because I couldn't sleep in the morning. And I started thinking about all Pat Metheny songs, and I was learning them, and I started posting them. And then I talked a little more to Pat about it. And so I ended up making a record of Pat Metheny songs that'll be out in March, but I haven't had the opportunity to actually, you know, Pat and I have said we should get together and play these songs, and we haven't done that yet. But that would be one of the persons that would be on my list.
It's brilliant, by the way. He did it.
I can imagine. That's fantastic. And you know, when you have a big loss, you know, I mean, listen, we've all lost a lot of things, and loss of parents, and you know, with you, John, it's not only a parent, but such an incredible influence on your life, your mentor. I lost my mom, who basically was my act. I mean, you know, I had a comedy act because of my mother. I lost her in 2017. I lost Ralph in 2018. But then I got to do Tootsie in 2019. And that experience really saved my life. It really saved my life. You know, I'm sure you feel this way too, Jessica, like 8 a week, same group that you love, the community.
You can't explain it. You get so hooked on the theater because of the people, because of the family. I miss it so much.
I miss Eddie the doorman.
Yeah.
I miss, you know, I miss the call board. I miss the call board. So, you know, the rituals, the incredible rituals. But now
and you were fantastic in that, by the way, and gorgeous.
Oh, well, bless William Ivy Long, who gave me the most beautiful clothes in the world. People have stopped me on the street and said, how do I get that gold suit? I'm like, well, you call William Ivy Long, because I'm not going to do that. No, it was fantastic. It was, and thank you. Now you have a bit of a family affair because your stunning daughter, Maddie, she's now a Birdlander too, right? Look at her. Look at her.
Yeah. We had a great, her first gig with us was, we did all the Paul McCartney. I made a Paul McCartney record called Midnight McCartney. And we had a little string quartet, as only you can do at Birdland. We had a string quartet and 4 horns, and Maddie and her best friend, Julia Gargano from school, and Jesse were backup singers, and a rhythm section. And Maddie learned a few things on the guitar, and she played Maybe I'm Amazed with me, and everybody was like, oh, it's nice, he's going to bring his daughter up. And then like my trumpet player would be crying every night going, it's the most beautiful thing when she plays with you.
It's real. It's a mystery. She just knew how to play the guitar. She just knew how to do it.
Yeah, we didn't show her
nothing. But she also played at Susie's downstairs, Susie Moser. She did.
Oh, in the lineup.
Yeah, all by herself. She
Oh,
was
that,
fantastic.
now does she want to go into the family business, or is she going like, oh, I'm going to do this for now, but I'm going to end up being a physicist? Or
Well, I mean,
Physicists would be nice.
she was a part of the class of 2020 at Brown, where her thesis project was on record that she made of her original material, and all the artwork and everything, and she had to flee. She never went back to school. So those kids are in a little bit of limbo. But she's put her stuff out on the internet. Maddie Pizzarelli. She's got 3 or 4 songs if anybody's interested, and they're wonderful.
I've seen her on Instagram, and she's absolutely adorable. And maybe she's our next Joni Mitchell.
Well, definitely. I mean, we knew one day when John picked up the guitars and he couldn't tell what key they were tuned to.
All her tunings are weird, so because she uses all the Joni tunings, and she's so talented and lovely. She's a lovely gal. She gets that from her mother, thank God.
She's very smart. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see where she ends up.
I remember when she got into Brown, you guys were very excited.
We were excited. I was crying, but I wasn't crying because she got into Brown. I was crying because I didn't have $72,000.
I think it ends up being 84.
Yeah. They stuck in another 12.
It is insane. It's just crazy.
Crazy.
Let me remind everyone that we are talking about Birdland because today's show, which, yes, there we are, Venmo, PayPal, if you have anything, please help us save Birdland. We will be going back to giving a portion to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation next week. But this week, with John Pizzarelli and Jessica Molaski, 2 incredible legends. And now Maddie, their daughter, we wanted to give a portion to Birdland. And we're going to bring Jim back in because I think he has something to ask you guys and some picks. There he is.
Oh, I have many questions.
Wasn't that incredible listening?
Oh no, it was a great moment. What people don't know is how much fun you guys are beyond the music. Every closing night at Birdland, John goes into the kitchen and starts cooking for the entire staff. And food comes out, and it's pasta for everybody. And it's one of the look.
Oh my God! Look at that! There it is.
I like that
There
coat.
it is.
Where did I? What?
Meatballs.
Look at that.
I mean, have you done that forever, or is that Tell me about that.
That started. It was really wild. It started when I did it. I did it once just for the band, and actually once at Feinstein's on the last night, I made 3 different pastas, and it was a funny night because a lot of us. Mike Stoller was there, and I think Kenny Rankin and Tommy Lipuma, all these people showed up, and I was like, "Great to see you. I got to get the water boiling." And I made pasta for the staff, and then when we started, when the meatball craze started about 5 or 6, 7 years ago. I just started on the last night, and then it became. My son would come over because we needed about 100 meatballs and a big pot. We'd get 2 pots and we'd bring them, and Johnny's so great. Johnny Valenti, who runs Birdland, God bless him, and he would say, "These meatballs are fantastic. Let's sauce. Choke a horse with this sauce. It's unbelievable." So it was always great.
That's a very good Gianni Valenti.
It is a good.
It really
It's so funny.
That place.
When these guys are booked at Birdland, the entire staff is so hyped because it's very old school. I find the old school performers, I don't mean old performers, but just old school in their soul. They treat the staff beautifully. They celebrate the club, and it's really unusual to see. And it's such a lovely thing. They're nice to everybody, and they make it like a real family affair. And it's a
Billy
beautiful thing
Stritch
to
just
see.
said it's a perfect Gianni imitation.
Right.
John.
Now I have
terrible.
a
He makes fun of him through the whole show. What do you say to the
Oh.
trunk of your car?
Yeah, I always say if a guy should fall asleep in the trunk of your car, he deserves to be shot.
Perfect.
But that's what the club is, and that's why it's the same thing. Why we hope that people will give contributions towards that, because it really is. There are great jazz clubs in New York, but there's something about the family aspect, like Johnny calls it going to the store, and it's
That's right.
a beautiful thing. And then he says, I'm at the store today. I'm coming early. Comes to the sound checks. He's there all the time. When he's not there, he's depressed. And I can only imagine how he feels right now. And there's just nothing like that place. I'd make 200 meatballs if I had to. It's that kind of thing. It's so much fun.
It really is. It's some of the best nights. And, of course, I love being on Broadway and whatnot. But some of the best nights of my life have been there, stepping on that stage when Jim says, the one and only Julie Halston, and that's an incredible feeling, and the laughter and the joy, and oh my gosh, it's so
well,
incredible.
I think it does come from Johnny, because he's, this is his family, and that staff is his family. And actually during this time, we're raising all this money on the GoFundMe, and I said, well, what are you going to do with all this? Of course, he has back bills that he has to take care of, because we've been closed for 11 months. But what he wants to do first is to give everybody their Christmas bonus. The guys in the kitchen that have been with him for 30 years.
Since he was on Broadway up north. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
I
there's
mean,
something
it's
about the space itself, don't you think? I don't know what it is, because we've played so many different spaces in New York, but there's something about that space when the door closes. It's a great bar. You've got stagehands. You've got, I don't know. We've had some of my favorite dates going to see you, going to see Kurt Elling, Schwabaska.
Maddie was so mad that we didn't get to see the Christmas show this year. And here too. She goes, we have to go see the Christmas show, because we did Jonathan Schwartz's radio show the Sunday, and that night was you guys. And Maddie's like, oh, we're gonna stay for a Christmas show. I can't. She was young, and we were like, no, we're gonna stay because I think it's Christmas. And at the end, she was like, oh, we have to do this every year. This is like better than Radio City. We have to go see Jim Caruso and Billy.
It is a great show. It is really, really a great show.
God, I love Maddie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was such an honor for us. I mean, what a show. I can't get, what is the first thing you guys are going to do when this whole nightmare is over? Of course, Jim said he was going to go to a sex club.
When you put that picture up with me and James Taylor, I didn't even look at James Taylor. I kept thinking, God, I used to have highlights.
There you go. Highlights. Yeah, highlights.
You're going to have your hands on?
My hair, my toes.
I want to go somewhere and have an ice cold martini, gin martini, and then the rest everything else is off the table at that point.
We had a little diner around the corner from our house in New York City, and it's like, on any given day, it's either Richard Kind or Chip Zien or Deb Monk, and it's like a movie. It's like we sit there. I wish I had transcripts of Richard Kind and Chip Zien talking over a cup of coffee.
Well, Richard Kind will always be the first one to remind you that his best friend is George Clooney.
That's right.
That's the first thing out of his mouth is, hi, I'm Richard Kind. My best friend is George Clooney. I'm like, really, Richard? You've told me this 25 million times.
I would lead with that.
Well, he does, darling. But he is a riot. And I just want to go to a restaurant and be with my friends. That's the
that's what I mean. Just that,
Yeah. Well, I cannot thank you enough. I hope everyone has enjoyed this show. It really was magnificent. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself.
Yes, thank you. It's just so good to just see you and talk to you.
It really is. It's an hour. It goes by pretty quickly, and we learned so much. And of course, we could talk to you guys because you're so interesting and so talented for another 3 hours, but we really can't.
Now, I heard a rumor that you have part of our pod up here. It was I don't know, I must have done
next
something
week.
back.
Next week.
Mr. Brooks Smanskis, who we walked with for 3 miles every. Oh my God! Get a new headshot, Brooks.
I know. He's 18 years old and he's the devil. But no, I can't wait. And Brooks of course called me and he was like, "What is this? What am I doing? What should I be doing? What are we going to talk about? I don't want to talk about myself. I said, Brooks, we'll talk about your poker game with Lewis Black. That's if you want to talk about that, we'll talk about that. It's up to you. He was like, oh, all right, Halston, I'll do it. We'll probably end up talking a lot about Gypsy because that was one of the most fun times of our life.
That's
And
right.
then, we'll ask him to sit there with his, sapphire gin or whatever. I mean, it'll be fine.
I'm gonna promise to make sure that he doesn't have any before 5 o'clock.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to it.
I have one other thing. I am extremely jealous that Jim has on a beautiful shirt and tie. I've worn a suit twice, I think, since I left Birdland. Once was I wore a tux for one of our shows because we had to go back to the city because the electricity went off here. So I wore a tux for our show on a Thursday, and I wore a suit on Thanksgiving. And when I put the suit on, I cried. It was the first time. And Maddie said, I think Daddy's going to cry. And I said, I just tied my tie.
Tying my tie every Monday and every Friday for Cast Party and for Julie, it gives me hope. It really does. And I'm serious.
I do.
I love a tie.
Jessica,
I even put on a tie bar for you, John.
We went back to New York, and I opened my closet, and it was just black sparkles.
Jessica, I wear eyelashes so much now that Ardell, who makes eyelashes, has now given me a supply for a year for free. I now talk about my Ardell Wispies because I don't take the garbage out without them. And I've become Joan Crawford. But you
gotta love a woman who wears lashes in a pandemic. You have to love a woman that does that.
Right? I mean, come on. But it makes me feel better. It makes me feel
important.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. So let's stay safe and stay healthy. We'll all watch Brooks next week. I want to thank my viewers. As always, they have come through and they are so generous. I can't tell you. And I want to thank John Pizzarelli and Jessica Molaski, two of New York's greatest, really greatest.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And Jim, I'll talk to you soon.
Any minute.
Any minute.
Oh, play us out, John. Play us out.
Yeah, play us out.
The world is waiting for the sunrise. Every rose is covered with dew. And while the world is waiting for the sunrise, and my heart is calling you.
What more is there to say?